Welcome to Wrestling Junkie, and today we'll be doing another tier list video. In today's tier list will be match stipulations. So as you see on the screen next to us, we have 5 different tiers with a whole bunch of different match types. We're not doing singles or like tag team and like things like that. Mainly these are ones that are like you don't see as often as others. Our matches we have is 2 out of 3 falls, 3 stages of hell, buried alive, casket match, elimination chamber, falls count anywhere, first blood, hardcore, hell in a cell, I quit match, Inferno, Iron Man, ladder match, Punjabi prison, Royal Rumble, steel cage, submission match, table match, TLC, and war games. Obviously you see our tiers above it, going from top being the best, one at the bottom being the worst. But yeah, without further ado.
Yeah, there's also gonna be some that we're just not adding in just because, like the pitch black match we recently had with Bray Wyatt, stuff like that's not gonna be in there. We're not gonna put things like the bra and panties matches. Like we already know what tier these matches are going into. There's no point in adding them. So yeah, we're just ranking these based off of these, and all these are pretty much classics. I don't know if we have any never happening again. We'll have to see, I guess, but. Yeah, sure. Let's get into it.
Yeah, our first match is the 2 out of 3 falls match. Now, this one, I think it depends on your wrestlers involved because this one is usually going to last upwards of 30 minutes minimum. So it could be something, you kind of need 2 Iron Men, basically. So, but from what we have seen, I don't think there's been too many bad Iron Man matches, if I'm being honest. Or 2 out of 3 falls matches. So.
Yeah, from what I remember, all of them have been pretty good. We've seen, people like Kurt Angle in them, and Chris Benoit in them, and, stuff like that. 3 stages of hell, which is what we have next. I'm sure, everybody's familiar with that. This is kind of like the
safer, more tame version.
Yeah, of that. Yeah. So the people who should be in matches like this, in my opinion at least, are people, nowadays would be like Seth Rollins, AJ Styles,
Finn Balor.
Yeah, stuff like that is the type of people you want to see in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So yeah, I think I would rank that at like, because if they put you in a match like this, it's usually gonna be well-known good superstars that everyone wants to see for that amount of time. So I'm gonna say bangers.
Yeah, I think this one, it has potential to be like a 5-star classic, in like a 5-star classic like category. It's just it just really depends on who you have in it, I think, and that's your main thing. Like you mentioned, we have three stages of hell next. For me, I think it's only fair you put it in. I think you have to put it either in the same tier or 5-star classics because it's the same match. It's a little bit different, like you said. 3 stages of hell, you have different stipulations for each pinfall or submission, so
it's more like the hardcore version of a 2 out of 3 falls match, sort of. But yeah, I'd put it in the same category. You're gonna get different types of people in each of those matches, or you should at least. And yeah, you'll get a different, although they're sort of the same, you'll get a different type of match from each of those based on the people they put on them.
Like, the difference between these matches is also the energy involved. Like, a 2 out of 3 is more like, you kind of have to be more of a hardcore wrestling fan, I guess, because you gotta, respect how long they're going, the stuff they're doing, for however long they end up going. 3 Stages of Hell is anybody could watch it and be like, oh, wow, that's fun, because you're gonna have, a ladder match, you're gonna have a steel cage, maybe, or something of whatever could be, but yeah, I think this is very solid for each of them. But yeah, on to the next one, we have Buried Alive. For me, it is more of a gimmick match for the Undertaker and Kane because that's kind of I'm pretty sure that's where it started from. For me, I'll go good because even though it is very easy to watch and it's very fun, you have to have certain people in it to make it make sense in my opinion. Yeah. So for me, I'll go good.
Yeah, I would say the same. You only want to see Undertaker in it realistically, we don't want to see a Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar in a Buried Alive match. It's just not going to work well. But that being said, if Undertaker wants to come back and do a good Buried Alive match, I'll be down.
Now, similar to the Buried Alive match, we have a casket match. Obviously, there is a difference. Obviously, the caskets are always right next to the ring. Buried Alive's by the entrance and stuff like that. So, for me, would also go good. Again, it's kind of dependent on who's in the match. You kind of want to have Undertaker or Kane in that match because it's more, like I said, the gimmick match, the dead man match, you know. So, for me, I'd go good.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same once again, for the same reasons as the Buried Alive match.
Next up, we have an Elimination Chamber. Now, this one, there has been a few not so great Elimination Chamber matches, but however, there's also been some bangers and like some very good ones that have great rewatchability and stuff like that. For me, I'm looking towards bangers probably, if not 5-star classics, but I think it weighs a little bit down because of the ones that have missed, you know.
Yeah, I would say between bangers and good, like very top of good. But I think bangers is a fair place for it.
Yeah, because I think another thing that we're also basing it off of is also just how like the creativity you have in that match and like what kind of finishes you can have. Obviously, Elimination Chamber you're kind of limited because you have to eliminate every single person. Then you have to eliminate the final person, but then you also have the chamber itself to do crazy moves. Just this year, we've seen Montez Ford do a flip off the top of the cage, which was sick to see. You can comment on the pod. You know, there's a lot of cool moments that could happen from it. So for me, I think I'd go bangers.
No.
So, yeah. Next up, Falls Count Anywhere. For me, I'm kind of torn on this one. What do you think? What do you think?
I am too, because I feel like it's like it's literally. I feel like it's a 5-star classic or watchable.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no like in between with these. Like it's one or the other. Like you get your Al Snow versus Big Boss Man Falls Count Anywhere, where it's like it's just a lot of stuff going on, and they made it funny. And it lasted quite a while, and it was decent for what it was. And then you have hardcore matches that like you would see like Raven and Hardcore Holly and stuff like that, where it's just like it's basically just a hardcore match at that point, because you don't go outside the ring. You might fight at the entrance ramp, but you're not leaving the ring essentially.
Yeah, I think the match also is depending on how you finish the match. Being it is called a Falls Count Anywhere, I hate when it finishes in a ring. The entire point of the match is you can finish it outside the ring, out in the backstage, in the crowd, outside the arena. Like I feel like there's creativity like everywhere in it, and sometimes they just don't really do that. So for me, I'm gonna go bangers. I think I still think I'd go bangers. I think it's just it can be really good or it can be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'd probably say top of good myself, but I could agree with bangers as well, like in the list of bangers.
The next up, we have a First Blood match. Now, obviously, this is one that we probably won't see too much more in WWE, because obviously they kind of limit how much blood we see on TV, obviously because of TV sponsorships and deals and stuff like that. So it's kind of rare when you do see one. It's kind of restricted pay-per-views and like big feuds and stuff like that. However, I think the creativity you have in it and just it takes a long time for some people to bleed. I would go. I don't know. Because I wasn't putting it in towards like bangers or maybe 5-star classics. However, I was like, there has been a few like not so good First Blood matches. So for me, I'd still go bangers. I think bangers is still like, this is a tough one. I feel like this is a tough one.
I think I lean more towards good myself.
Okay.
Because we definitely have seen some great ones. Such as Stone Cold and Undertaker. That was a classic one. But I don't know. I feel like the stipulation is kind of like limiting, kind of.
Yeah.
It like limits what you could do in the match, because you can't do too much, because what if you do something and a guy starts bleeding before the finish spot,
Yeah.
or the wrong guy starts bleeding, or you know what I mean? Yeah. So you're kind of limited. I'm sure WWE find something in the bag to like work that storyline out. But yeah, I feel like it's like limiting.
Yeah. Now on to our next match. We have a hardcore match. For me, I think this might be our first 5-star classics match. I think it's very fun to watch. This one, you don't necessarily need two technical gods in the ring. Like, you can put some mid-carders and like just have them go all out, use all the weapons they can in the ring and stuff like that. So for me, I think this might be our first 5-star classic.
Yeah, the only thing that's almost making me not want to say 5-star classics is because back like I don't know 10 plus years ago, a hardcore match could mean like a lot of different things. But nowadays, when it's like a hardcore match is essentially what they would just call a no DQ match now.
Yeah.
And in the no DQ match, you're not gonna see too crazy things.
Yeah.
Most of the time, at least. Obviously, you know, some people put on spectacular shows, but I feel like back then the enjoyment of it was just seeing somebody just get beat to oblivion, like literally, like I mean, if this wasn't a hardcore match, this was an I Quit match, but same shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mankind versus The Rock, just watching him get beat with the chair like 20 times or whatever it was while handcuffed and can't defend yourself. It's like stuff like that, like moments that define, like, you know, no DQ / hardcore matches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd agree with 5-star classics, but now that, you know, the WWE is the way it is with, you know, sponsors and all that kind of stuff, I'd almost bring it down a level, but
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Next up, we have a Hell in a Cell match. For me, I think it's another 5-star classic. The first ones obviously you think of is Undertaker Mankind, Undertaker Shawn Michaels. More recently, you had Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. So yeah, I would go 5-star classics because it is. There's something about that just. I don't know. It's just so fun to watch because you know some big's probably gonna have it in that match. Like whether it's a big spot, like we said earlier with the Undertaker Mankind, either somebody's getting thrown off the top of the cage, or you know when Kane first debuted. You know, so I think for me, I'd go 5-star classic because when I see this match, it instantly makes me excited for that match. So.
Yeah, and you know when you put two people inside the Hell in a Cell, you know that it has like a big storyline behind it, more than likely, because this is usually where the feud ends in the Hell in a Cell. Like once you lock those two men in there, or however many people it could be, it's whatever issues they had before that is basically over with after that match, and then you're moving on to the next storyline.
Yeah. And next up, we have an I Quit match. Now we haven't seen this one too recently, if I believe. I don't remember the last time we've seen one, but obviously one I think of is Randy Orton, John Cena. For me, I want to put it in bangers. However, I feel like if I'm being no bias and like how good some of them have been, I'd put it towards good. What do you think?
I mean, I might be a little biased. I'm gonna say bangers because I mean, you know, and people at home might have been watching the channel for a long time. I know that one of my favorite matches of all time is The Rock versus Mankind, as I mentioned earlier. It's literally one of my favorite matches ever. So I might be a little biased towards it because of that. But trying to put that aside as much as I can, I think bangers is still fair. But good, I could see it too, just because we haven't seen a whole lot of them.
Yeah. I'm putting bangers in. We may in the video we can kind of decide if we want to move it up, down, whatever. Moving on, we have an Inferno match. Now for this one's very interesting because this is one you rarely see. I don't remember the last time we've seen one, to be honest. The one I think of is Kane and MVP at, I believe, was Judgment Day, like 07 maybe. That's the first one I think of. It's very fun, however, it's similar to the Buried Alive and Casket match where you kind of want to have Kane in there because, I mean, it's kind of his type of match.
No.
So for me, I'd go good. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. It's once again kind of like how I talked about the First Blood match. It's kind of limiting because you're obviously in a ring surrounded by fire, so you can't do too much outside of the ring. There have been times where they have gotten outside without, you know, getting caught on fire. But like even in the first ever one, Undertaker and Kane, where they fought on the outside of the ring, and then he eventually put his arm into the fire, and he caught his arm on fire, and he goes run into the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually got out the ring without being on fire. But it's still limiting because you can only do so much because you have to stay there. Like you could leave the ring, but where do you go? You have to catch him on fire to win. So yeah, I think good's fair.
Next up, we have an Iron Man match. For me, I think this is a 5-star classic. It's usually, when they do it right. They put two guys who are just phenomenal in the ring. Obviously, pictured we have Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. Yeah, for me, I'm going to 5-star classics, I think.
Yeah, it's not much to say. I think most people would agree with this. Yeah, like you said, they usually put the right people in. Every time I could think of has been the right people, and it's always worked.
Yeah. And next up, I think, be kind of another one where we have the ladder match. Yeah, I think it's another 5-star classic. I think there has been bangers. Obviously, you have solo ladder matches. However, you have great tag team ladder matches. So
Money in the Bank.
Yeah, this is basically I don't know. I'm not to say later, but this is like a lesser version of a Money in the Bank. So you can also wrap Money in the Bank history into it as well. Yeah, for me, I'll go 5-star classics.
Yeah, it easily has to go 5-star classics. There's tons of ladder matches, TLC matches. We'll get into that obviously later. But yeah, there's tons of matches like this that are classics.
The next up, we have the Punjabi prison match. Now, when I seen this coming next, I was kind of thinking about where I was going to put it, and it made me think about the Buried Alive casket in Inferno match, where it has to be somebody of Indian descent. Obviously, we've seen Greg Khali and Jinder Mahal, even, so. But for me, I'm going to put it in Never Happened Again because I think it's just the ones we have seen have not been great. The Jinder Mahal match and Randy Orton wasn't great. The Batista and Great Khali one isn't great. Watching it in person, people have said it's very hard to understand and see what's happening in the ring. So for me, I'm either watchable or Never Happened Again, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'll say Never Happened Again. There's just no reason for it to happen again. I only want to see it with the Great Khali, personally. And he's not with WWE anymore, so yeah.
But like the concept of it, like it looks cool. I will say that, like the way it looks, it does look cool. However, it's just from what we've seen, it isn't great, and I think that's why we're kind of going to have Never Happen Again. Next up, Royal Rumble. I think this one is another easy one where I'm going 5-star classics. They have our own pay-per-view named after it. It happens once a year. It's such a fun concept because you truly never know who could win. Obviously, you the more you watch wrestling, the more you have an understanding of who has the advantage or like who's probably going to win. However, it has produced great matches, great moments. So I think 5-star classics.
Yeah, it's been around for so long now. It almost has to be there.
Yeah. Next up, Steel Cage. Now, this one's obviously a little different to Hell in a Cell because you don't have an outside ring to walk in. You can either climb out the door or climb outside the ring or pin or submit the person. For me, obviously there has been bad ones. However, there's been great ones as well. I'm looking at either 5-star classics or bangers, me personally.
Yeah, yeah, I think 5-star classics is good for it. I feel like 85% of Steel Cage matches are really, really good.
Yeah. And next up, we have a submission match. Now, this one is kind of interesting because it usually, for some reason, they usually have either one person who doesn't have a finisher or a submission, I should say, and one person who has a very popular one. Obviously, you have Chris Jericho usually is in it sometimes, or you have two people who have two very iconic submissions, and they want to use other person's to prove that theirs doesn't work. Then they use their own to make sure that's the one that sends the match over and to end the match. So for me, I think I'm gonna lean towards good because of it only ends one way, and you kind of know it's gonna end one way, and it's by submission.
Yeah, I'd be between good and even watchable, honestly.
Yeah.
I think one of the better ones that I've seen, at least, has been the Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit I believe it was him at least. Hopefully, I'm not wrong. But yeah, that was one of the better ones that I can remember. But I don't know. I feel like who in the WWE right now really has like a deadly submission hold right now?
I think you have like Roman's guillotine, but it doesn't really bring that out too much anymore. AJ Styles calf crusher.
There's not much right now.
Yeah, there's not many people who are like, at least I can think on top of my head. I'm sure if we have enough time to like sit here and like go through the entire roster, you can think of some people, but like, yeah, there's not too many people who have like a certified submission. That's like a Walls of Jericho, an STF, a sharpshooter, you know, something like that. There's not really that. So I think I'm still good, but yeah, that's a good point of like who does have like a solid submission maneuver that's like, I'm sure there's probably an obvious one that we're missing, but yeah. Next up we have a tables match. Now this one is similar to a submission match in the sense of there's only one way you can finish it. However, you have ways of finishing it in a way, what I mean by that is like how you go through that table. Do you want to go through one table, two tables, three tables? Do you want to have the table on fire? Do you want to have, you know, there's a lot of ways you can go, you know, through a table.
You want to be like Sabu and, you know, wrap yourself in barbed wire and leg drop somebody on top of the table, you know? Like, it's a lot of ways.
For me, though, I think it's a 5-star classic. I think there's been some amazing ones that are just so fun to watch. But yeah, I think I'm going 5-star classics.
I think I would lean more towards bangers myself, just because of what we have next.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. Which next up, like you said, is a TLC match, which obviously is a tables, ladders, and chairs match. I think this one's a certified 5-star classic. Nothing but bangers. Obviously, you think of the 3 or I forgot how many they really had. Hardy Boys, Dudleys, Edge and Christian. Absolute bangers everywhere. So yeah, I think 5-star classics.
Yeah. TLC matches are just
very fun.
Great. I wish that happened more, honestly. I think we have a lot of great tag teams right now in WWE, and I think right now could be a good time to do something like this.
Yeah. And next up, our final match stipulation of the video, we have the War Games match. Now, obviously, this dates back all the way to the 80s. However, we've seen it more recently last year's Survivor Series, and we've seen it in NXT. For me, I think it's such a cool concept having 2 rings, 2 cages, usually upwards of 10 people sometimes. So, for me, I would go 5-star classic because of how fun and just cool it looked as well.
I'm kind of on the opposite end as you, not complete opposite end, but yeah, I'm not really a fan of it. I feel like it's like too much, kind of like you can't really see everything that's going on. Obviously, like there's no like real camera angle that they show where you can kind of see the whole ring. You're kind of watching one ring at a time or one spot at a time or whatever. But yeah, I'm not too big of a fan. I'd put it in. I put in like good. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of war games too much. Just like you just can't, see everything. Obviously, you still get to see everything because they're gonna make sure you see everything. But I don't know.
I think one thing that AEW did really well in their past recent Blood and Guts match was having a cameraman. They have enough room on the apron as well, so a cameraman is in the corners so you can actually see inside the ring where you don't have to see through the cage, which I do agree. I do understand what you mean by it's kind of hard to see at times. It's kind of hard to see everything as well, especially when you have everybody inside the match. But at the same time, if you're like that, you why would you not have steel cage come down a little bit because of the visual hardness it is, I guess you can say.
No.
So if you're gonna put it in good, and I would put it in 5-star, I think it's only right we put in banger to kind of even it out.
Yeah, I could agree.
Yeah. So yeah, this is our list. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go. I'll ask you if you want to move anything up, or do you want to move anything down, and we'll also kind of put the best one in that tier. So. Buried Alive, do you think it should move up, down, or stay there?
Stay.
Should the casket match stay there?
Stay.
First Blood?
Stay.
Inferno?
Stay.
Submission?
Stay.
Now, which one out of these do you think is the best? Do you think the casket match is better than Buried Alive?
The best one, submission.
Okay.
Guess.
Next up, in the banger category, tables, should it go up or down?
Stay.
2 out of 3 falls.
Stay.
3 stages of hell.
Down.
Okay.
Not down a tier, but like.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber.
Honestly, that whole row could stay, but put 3 stages of hell over War Games.
Okay. 5-star classics. Is there anyone going to change?
Let's go. Let's go Steel Cage first.
Okay.
Then Ladder.
Okay.
TLC. Then Hardcore. Yeah, exactly like that.
Okay. So that is our final tier list. Let us know what you guys think of our tier list. What should we move up? What should we move down? Is there one that we got completely wrong that you think should be either in 5-star classics or all the way down to never happen again? But yeah, I enjoyed this video. Hope you guys did as well. It's been Wrestling Junkie, and see you guys in the next video.